3 more hours I got left of this game. 3 more hours I got left to play. Hi, hello. It's me, it's Louis. Lochie's not here. It's just me. Lochie's off gallivanting with a friend of his. His friend is over from America for a week, and he's staying with him. And we were like thinking about doing a podcast, but it just kind of felt like it was a lot of hassle. He doesn't really have a lot of time to like play a game, and it's his turn to play a thing. I couldn't think of like an appropriate thing to play that would be easy to sort of shove in, and then we thought about like maybe doing like a guest podcast with his bud, but like that would be weird. I've never spoken to his bud, and I don't even think he plays many, if any, video games. So it would be a struggle to like find an appropriate topic. So I'm gonna do another solo one. This would be the 4th solo episode, which is interesting. I guess it's not. I guess it's fine. I guess that's fine. And as long as we're not missing weeks, right? The challenge was I was trying to think of things I could talk about. Sort of racking my brain. It's like, what have I been playing recently that I have any kind of thing to say? And honestly, there really isn't that much. I've in the last month, just under a month, I've basically only played things for the podcast. I played Undertale for last week, and yeah. What else? Have I played anything else? I think I played like an hour. No, I played like an hour of. Me and Lochie were gonna play a multiplayer game together. It was like late, and we both just wanted to play something, I guess. We were sort of hunting around for things to play, and we ended up deciding on Metal Gear Solid 5. But obviously, there was a huge patch for it, so I was just sort of waiting around in the lobby for Lochie, and I was just running around like the free play zone for like an hour, and then we gave up, and that was that. And I think that maybe with some very small instances of a couple other things, yeah, there's been a couple other things, but really, I've probably played like 5 hours of video games in the last 3 weeks, maybe. It's hard to remember that stuff, you know. Which is unusual for me. That's a small amount. That might sound like a lot to people that don't play video games, but for me, that's a very small amount. Thinking about it, I don't know how much I play in the average week, and I think probably since I was like 18 onwards, I've probably like watched and consumed more video game content in terms of like video game articles or like just random crap on the web than I have actually played games. I reckon I probably spend more time doing that than actually playing games, because I do find that stuff interesting. But that ratio has like just a huge landslide the last couple of weeks. Like 10-1 probably, or I don't know. God, 10-1 makes it, because if I played like 4 hours with games these last 3 weeks, then that means I've played like watched 40 hours of other content, which is terrifying to think about. God, I hope that's not true. Anyway, so you may be wondering, well, Louis, what the hell are you doing a solo episode if you have no video games to talk about? And I'm breaking the rules here. I'm pushing the boundaries of Time Played 3HR. That's the name of the podcast, by the way. And if I haven't mentioned it, my name is Louis. And I didn't know if I mentioned it, but Lochie is not here. So, yeah, what am I going to talk about? And I guess what I'm going to talk about is I'm going to try over the next, I don't know how long this episode is going to be. It's probably going to be a shorter one. Over the next little while, to broach the ever-existing, nobody wants to touch because it's so boring and tired discussion of video games and escapism and that whole zone. Now I'm going to avoid the word escapism as much as possible because it's incredibly loaded, and it's not, that word is not something that I've ever really felt like applied to me. I don't feel like I'm escaping when I play a video game. So like that I think it's just kind of a dumb word, and I think it's maybe a little bit simplistic. So I'm not going to use that. The games that were in my mind, that have been on my mind, it's not that I haven't been like thinking about games. As I said, I've been watching a lot of content, reading a lot of content about games, and obviously talking to Lochie and played Undertale and stuff. So like games have still been on my mind. And there's been several that I have wanted to play. And those games are, in no particular order, Nioh, which is a third-person action game in the vein of a Dark Souls, very much so. Set in like, I don't know, like feudal Japan. I don't know. One of the Japans that was before the current Japan, and with like mystical stuff going on. And then there was this game called The Long Dark, which has been out for a really, really long time, and it is the most like survival game, so like that you could think of, which is a little, I want to say Hippocratic, but that's not a word. What is the word? Whatever, you know the word. You're thinking the word, so you know the word, so I don't have to say the word. It's a little of me. Hypocritical, that's the one we got there. It's a little hypocritical of me because the first episode, which was about Subnautica, I was talking about how bored I am of crafting survival games. So I've wanted to play that, and then there's also been another crafting survival game, which is No Man's Sky, which recently got a big update. It's been a year since it's out, and I played it when it came out for like 10 hours or so, and I kind of liked it for what it was. It was fine. It was sort of relaxing and pleasant. If not maybe slightly disappointing, but understandably so. And the update looked kind of interesting, and I just hadn't touched that game since. So I was like, yeah, I want to see that too. And so those three games, probably with a couple others like shoved in there, are things that have been like on my mind and that I've wanted to play, and I haven't, and I've stopped myself, I guess. It hasn't been hard to stop myself. It's been like, do I want to play that? I could play that, and then just kind of saying, nah. Actually, I don't. And I think the thing that's been on my mind a lot these last 3 weeks is they are all games that, let me make sure I'm getting this right, because it's been like swirling around in my head. And I've probably said it to a couple of people now because I'm just trying to process it. But they are all games that, and this is true of a huge majority of video games, in my opinion. Video games, for the most part, not all, but for the most part, are about being alone, and they're about being really, really good at it. They're about being really successful loners, which makes a lot of sense when you think about it, right? Because games are specifically built for a single person. It's hard. There are obviously lots of games where you play multiplayer, but like, it's pretty hard to build a game in which you control a character and have that be an experience that everyone can enjoy in the room, that everyone can play, basically. You can have people watch Nathan Drake climb up a wall, but really the only person that's getting anything out of that, other than like, oh, look, he's climbing up a wall, is the person playing it. And to be honest, there isn't that much difference when you're climbing up a wall in Uncharted, but you know what I mean. There is a huge difference between holding the controller and watching someone hold a controller. So games are inherently designed, I guess, for when people are on their own, or for the person holding the controller, which means they end up being about being on your own, because that means the most obvious thing to do is to make a character that is also on their own, right? That's just like, well, okay, yeah, so that's what we'll do. We'll put them on their own, and then we'll get going. Obviously, the other thing about games is that they're often about achievements, and they're about successes. They're about little and larger successes that eventually you can overcome. Even games that consider themselves to be hard, or that people talk about being hard, like Dark Souls or Nioh, for example, even though they are hard, they are not impossible. They are not insurmountable. They are not like life. There aren't things that you feel crushed by the weight of. They're just like, if I really, really put my mind to that, I know that I could just do that because it's designed that way. It's built specifically for repeat tries, and you can try again and all that boring stuff, right? And that's not an inherently bad thing. That's not a bad thing. I don't think of that as like a negative trait of video games. However, it has been something that I have used like in my life. And the reason that I've been going through this whole stuff is I've just been going through some like personal crappiness, which I'm sort of coming out of now, which is really good. So I feel like it's easy to talk about. And well, a lot of my feelings at the moment have been about, well, how I'm 23 years old, right? So like my mind is constantly thinking about the word fulfillment. Like quarter life crisis is like a very real a real thing. Not that I'm quite there yet, but like, you know, it's very much just like, what am I doing? I think everyone I know in my life at this point, everyone my age is at a crossroads where there seem to be no other cars. You know, like it's just a lot of like, there's like, I could go everywhere, therefore there is nowhere. You know, for most people I know my age are at that point, and some people are starting to move past that, and that's exciting to see. But it's not expected for a long time, really. You know, which is kind of relieving in its own way, I guess, to know. And I'm definitely at that point in my life, and I feel like I've been at that point for a long time. But yeah, to get back to the to get back to the video game thing. So I've been feeling pretty crap the last few weeks, and I think in the past I've looked at video games as a way to get me through that. But what I needed right now was to not get through the feeling, but to address the feeling. And video games couldn't help me do that. The video games couldn't give me the space to learn. They could only give me the space to feel safe, which is a great thing for a lot of people, and has been very valuable to me. Like other challenging times of my life, video games have given me like a safe place to explore being alone. So like the game, to get back to some of those games, like the game like The Long Dark, right? To go into a little bit of description about what that game is, it is the most survival game in that it's like post-apocalyptic, and it's super cold, and you're in a forest. I don't really know much about it, to be honest. It's been out for a long time, but I think they just like put their foot down, said this is the final version, and they released like a story mode with it as well. But I imagine you craft and you eat and you got to stay warm. So it's all that stuff. I think the reason I'm interested in that over other survival games is I heard about it before I was tired of that genre. So it wasn't like that long after Minecraft got super huge and like survival genres in general like started popping up, and Rust. It wasn't like it was around that time. It wasn't 2 years after it, you know. It was very much, yeah, and it felt like it wasn't trying to be a survival game. It felt like it was, we want to make you feel a certain way, and it turns out that these mechanics really suit that. It wasn't, we want to use these mechanics because other games do it, and maybe it'll make you feel like this. You know, it had its, what I think is the right way to approach that stuff. Hang on a second. There's just like an insanely loud thing going on outside. Okay, well, you may just have to listen to whatever this music is. If you can hear it in the background, I apologize. But can I listen to this music is the real question. Let's just take a second to really let it pass into us. Just really... Oh, it stopped. Okay, I'm going to have a drink of water. 1 second. Yeah, God, that water really does taste bad. Oh my God. How many times? Okay, The Long Dark. So yeah, I liked the look of it when it was first announced, and then I just completely forgot about it. And then now suddenly, it's been like years. It's been finished, and so I was interested in it. I was interested in how simple it looked compared to how these games had gotten. It's still very much a game about wading through the woods. The reason it appealed to me this time was, as I was saying, it seemed to be a nice, comfortable, safe place to explore feeling alone, to be in solitude, which is different to being alone, right? To be in solitude is to be making an active choice to be on your own. It's choosing to separate yourself from people for a short or long amount of time, whatever, for an amount of time, to evaluate yourself and to grow in some sense, and to learn something about yourself, I guess, is how I would define what solitude is. Whereas being alone is something that one can often feel victimized, like, oh, I don't want to be alone, but I am. And then obviously being alone is often, at least in my case, has been a choice that I've made and then sort of felt like it was sort of put upon me, So the Long Dark feels like it's doing that. It's giving me that space. The reason I don't want to play it is because I know that it doesn't actually provide anything for me. In that, yeah, I could have a safe space to feel my loneliness, but really what I need is to find some other fulfillment. That's what I've been trying to do these last 3 weeks, 4 weeks, is to try and find pockets of fulfillment in my life outside of the things that I was getting fulfillment out of that became slightly diminished, right? So that doesn't work. And then Nioh, I think probably. So I had been playing a lot of Dark Souls 3 right before. Right before bad things happened. Right before I got sad. And I finally finished Dark Souls 3, and I played a lot of the DLC. I didn't finish either of the DLCs, because of course I didn't. I knew I wouldn't, but I just wanted to see what they were like. I finally finished Dark Souls 3 after an entire year of sort of coming and going from it, and it was great. I like it. And that game, again, is about being alone. It's really, really about being alone. The difference with it is, it's the most boring thing, but it's just constantly making you feel good about it. It's constantly telling you, hey, you're really freaking good at this alone thing. You're like, my God, man, you really, look at you. And you'll talk to a crazy guy. You'll talk to a crazy guy. And you're like, well, that guy's weird. I'm not that guy. I'm not crazy laughing. That guy's laughing his head off. I'm not that guy. I'm strong. I'm silent. I'm doing this. I'm getting to the end of this thing, and I'm gonna make a choice. I'm gonna make a choice now. I'm making a choice. I don't know what it means, but it's got to be good because I'm doing it. And that's all great. And it's not a bad thing. And there are times in my life when I've actually really appreciated having that, but now is not the time for that. What was the other game I mentioned? No Man's Sky. I don't say No Man's Sky. Whatever. It's No Man's Sky. It's about being alone. It's the topic. The the vein is throbbing throughout all of these examples strongly, and you get the point. Sorry, throbbing veins is not really the nicest metaphor. So yeah, that's what's been in my mind, and I think it does trouble me. I think while it's not a bad thing, and sometimes can be a good thing, it is scary to think about. It is scary to think about that most games are built and designed that way, and how conscious we really are of it. And I'm not saying that I've come to some higher enlightenment that other people aren't aware of with video games, that they predominantly satisfy the lonely and obsessed. I'm not. Obviously, that's a trope that has been thrown around since the dawn of video games, right? So it's not an interesting take, but it's something that has felt very real to me these last few weeks, and has been scary because I like games. I love games. I play a lot of games, and I want to keep playing them, but I want to respect them, and I want them to respect my time. I think that's one of the real big problems with big budget games these days is this stretching of time that they insist on doing. And it means that, most people talk about the fact they don't finish games anymore. And like, man, I think if to me it feels, the reason I think it feels like a personal failure if you don't finish a game is because what it means is that actually the time I spent, well, this is, again, I'm talking for myself because I know people won't agree with this, but the time I spent getting to the point where I didn't finish the game, like, it wasn't good enough. It wasn't valuable enough to me to see it through. Which is fine. Media does that, but the problem is that this media is 20, 40 hours long at times. And I don't like that. I don't want that. The only other game I've wanted to play, and I would have played if I could have, but I just don't have anything that can run it, which is absurd because it's Tacoma, which is the another game from the people that made Gone Home. I don't know if we've mentioned Gone Home, but I really like Gone Home. Lots of people really like Gone Home. And I wanted to play Tacoma, and it doesn't run on my Mac, and it's on Xbox. I don't have an Xbox, so I just have to wait till that comes out on PlayStation, I guess, or I get a new computer, which is very, 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 very unlikely. And that's the one thing that I think I probably would have played and finished, because I know that it's like 4 or 5 or 6 hours, one of those numbers. And it's not about rewarding the thing I said 5 times. It's not about that. It's about humans. You're on your own. You have to be on your own in these games because, like, whatever, budgets are hard and you can't put people in, and even if there were people in, you'd still feel alone, right? Because it's a fucking video game. But it's filled, those games, Gone Home, I'm speaking more about Gone Home because it's the one I've played, is just filled with humanity. No one's in this house. It's dead in this house. It's spooky in this house. But it's filled with humans in that there's just shit everywhere, and there's like life, and there's writing, and it's written very well, and it's engaging, and there's personal politics going on, and it's fulfilling because you're learning about something other than yourself. You're learning about something other than I'm really good at whatever this is I'm doing. You don't like, there's a little bit of satisfaction of Gone Home, like piecing some of the stuff together, and that's fine. Like that's storytelling. That's how storytelling works, right? Is you get satisfaction out of understanding something. But there's also just that genuine feeling of like connection, without sounding too corny, to like the characters and the things that are happening and the things that have happened. So that's why I want to play Tacoma, and I can't. I can't play Tacoma right now. I was happy to play Undertale. For Lochie for last week. You should go listen to that episode, by the way. No one has so far. I think like 5 people have, which is really annoying, but there you go. It was a pretty good episode. I think we were actually getting a lot better at this whole thing. So Undertale was like, I was happy to play that again because that game again is like, you're alone. You're alone, but you're constantly meeting other people, and and it's not about And that's the kind of experience I want right now in my life. And I know that won't last forever, and I don't want it to last forever. Like, there are games coming out in the next few months that I would like to sit down with and play 10, 20, 30 hours of hopefully over the span of like more time. I don't want to be playing through these games and like, I don't want to like beat a 50-hour game in a month anymore. Like not really, and that has been a trend. Like, I've been getting that way, like I like Persona 5. I'm probably never going to beat Persona 5. I don't like it as much as 4, so that's probably why. But also, just like, I don't, it's not that I don't have the time, and I think that's something people say a lot. It's like, I don't have the time to do this. And that's like shorthand. That's not what they mean. They have the time. You can make the time if for anything in your life. They have other priorities, is what they're saying. And that's a good thing, like, and it's said in a way where like they're being like self-damning, like, oh, I just don't have the time and I'm terrible, I'm an awful person. It's like, no, it's a fucking great thing. If you don't have time to enjoy something that you would enjoy, I mean, unless it's like you're like slaving away at a job that you hate, and you're I don't know, all your friends are awful and you're spending your whole time with these horrible people, like, sure, then that's a shame. But then you just need to learn to prioritize better. But which is the whole thing. yeah. So that's kind of how I'm feeling. And I know it's not like, it's about video games, but it's not about a specific video game. I have no idea what I would call this episode. I guess we'll see. I don't know what the episode next week is. I could take a guess, but I'm not going to. It'll still be Lochie's week, so Lochie will play something on my recommendation. And I guess that's kind of it. Thank you for listening. I'm sorry if this was a little bit of a bummer. I hope it wasn't. I hope it was maybe even kind of uplifting. That would be good. If you maybe felt like, yeah, if at some point you went, yeah, in your head, even if it was like a really, really tiny one, that's good to know. Thanks, man or gal. That's really cool of you. I will speak to you next Sunday. This podcast goes up every single Sunday on iTunes and SoundCloud, soon YouTube, also Tumblr, and believe it or not, I just made a Twitter account which you can follow. I don't recommend it, but you can do that. The chances of me actually posting anything on this, I did do the Undertale one. I don't really know how to use Twitter very well, but I did it. So if you want that content is there for you, sir, and you take it. Thanks very much. Have a good one. Lots of love. Toodle toodle too. Goodbye. Mm-hmm.